So before starting this tutorial, you should have taken a look at the client-server model lesson on the course tutorial website. And the point of this tutorial is to show you how to use an FTP client to upload files to a server that we've set up for you so that you can serve your web page to make it viewable by people using browsers around the world. So the first thing we're going to do is download the tutorial test files, which have been stored on GitHub, which is a social coding environment or collaborative coding environment. So if you go to github.com/troyth and you click on repositories, you'll see there's a repository called webassite.com. And when you click on that, you'll be able to see all of the files that we're hosting on webassite.com for the course. So in this case, there'll be precedents and demos and lectures and so on. But for today, all you're going to want is the tutorials. So the first thing you'll do is go under branch and you'll switch to tutorials, which will strip out everything else, which is currently about 100 megabytes, down just to the tutorials folder. So if I click into tutorials, I'll see there's 3 tutorials currently loaded. If I click into tutorial 1 folder, I'll see that there's just an index.html file there. If I click on that, you can actually see the contents of the file, but you won't be able to edit it here in GitHub. What we'll want to do is to download that file to your local computer so you can work on it and then upload it to the server. So if you go back to webassite.com, you click on the zip button with the kind of cloud download icon. And then what you'll want to do is open Finder in a Mac or Windows Explorer in a PC and set up a local working folder on your machine. So I'm going to go into Documents and make a new folder that I'll call Web as Site. And then I'll take the zip file that I just downloaded, bring it into here, and unzip. And inside there you'll see again there's the tutorials main directory, and inside there's tutorial 1, 2, and 3. So the next thing we need to do is get a text editor so that we can begin to edit these files. For this course we recommend you use Sublime Text 2, but you could also use Dreamweaver on the school's computers, or if you want something more lightweight you could use something like Notebook, but you have to stay away from rich word processors like Word because they'll actually append all kinds of text that you can't see that the browser will see, and it'll mess up your website or your web pages. So once you've downloaded Sublime Text 2, you can then take the entire tutorials folder and drag it in and open. And in Sublime Text 2, it's going to show you in open files or open folders. You'll have tutorials and then tutorial 1. I'm going to open that, and inside is index.html. If I double click, now I've got the file open. The first thing to notice is at the top is the doc type. I'll make this a little bigger. The doc type is described by bang doc type, and in this case it's HTML, which means that this, for the browser that's reading or parsing this file to render it, it now knows that it's an HTML file, and because it doesn't have any version number, it knows to read this as an HTML5 or version 5, which is the latest version of HTML. The next thing is an HTML open tag, and at the bottom of the document is an HTML close tag. So everything between those two tags is going to be registered as HTML markup language. At the next level you have head and body. Inside of body is all of the content that will be rendered to the content part of the browser window. Inside of head is, in this case, the title, which will be the text that will be rendered to the browser tab. But you could also have in here metadata that will help search engines to parse your page, as well as dependencies such as external CSS style sheets and JavaScript files that you want the browser to load into this file before it reads and parses the plain text below. So the first thing we want to do is to upload this page to a site that we've created for you on the school server so that you can see your web page. To do that, we're going to use a protocol called File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, and you'll need an FTP client to do that. So the school's machines will have a program called WinSCP, but for this class, if possible, we recommend that you use an FTP client called FileZilla, which you can download for free at filezilla-project.org/download.php for Windows, Mac, OS X, and Linux. Once you've downloaded FileZilla, open it. And the first thing you want to do is set up your site's manager. So if you go under File, Site Manager, you're going to want to create a new site, which I'll give the name web as site. And for each of the groups, we've set up a subdomain that you can now FTP to, and that's where you'll see your website. So the host is going to be that subdomain, which is group, and then your group number. We'll use group 1 as a test case, .web as site.com. Everyone's going to be using port 22, and the protocol is not just going to be FTP, but SFTP, or SSH file transfer protocol. The logon type will be something like normal, which will allow you to put in a user, which is just group and then your group number, which everybody in your group will use or share, and then the password, which we will send around to each of the groups. After you do this, you can click OK, which will save it, and then if you go back to the site manager, make sure that web as site is highlighted and then click connect. And so what this will do is try to open up a channel to your remote server that we've set up for you, which is actually a machine sitting somewhere in New Jersey. So on the left you have your local machine, and on the right is your remote machine. So the first thing you want to do here is go into the directory that you set up to work on web as site, which I put in my desktop, or excuse me, in my documents at web as site. Web as site tutorials, tutorial 1. And then in here you'll see that there's the first file is what's called a writable file. Anything you put in the root directory will not be rendered to the page. You have to go into the writable directory before you'll see anything that'll show up in a browser. From there you'll see all of the group members that we've already set up, and we'll use Carolina as a test case here. So if I go into Carolina, I can then go back to my local computer, and I actually want to do upload tutorial 1. So if I grab this and drag it from left to right, it'll upload both the tutorial 1 folder and everything inside of it. So now you can see here on the remote machine in New Jersey, there's a tutorial 1 folder, and if I go inside, there's an index.html file. So if I open up that directory, group1.web/site.com/tutorial1/index.html, and hit enter, now I have the hello world file showing.